Welcome to Thursday. Glad you could be here today. We're going to be looking at the luminescence today, and I think next week we'll look at half of the gouache colors, and then the following week we'll look at the other half. The 5th of November, Catherine and I leave for South America. And kind of the plan is to possibly have 2 artists each day. So one artist on Thursday, one artist on Friday, which would be a little bit unique. Haven't done that before. So welcome everybody on Facebook. I seem to, for whatever reason, have difficulties with Facebook here in my office. But at home, it works fantastic, and I'm having that issue today. So, if Anna, Gabriel, Giovanni, if you could, Ethel, let me know if there's questions. That'd be fantastic. So I'm going to show you the today the iridescent and the interference. And then Carolyn's here, Anna, Gabriel, Giovanni, Angela and Buffy will be showing some of the artwork they've done with them, just kind of give you ideas. It's a very unique way to bring focus or fun into your paintings. So the luminescent is made up of 4 different families. It's made up of the iridescent, it's made up of the interference, it's made up of pearlescent, and it's made up of duochrome. And they all have to do with how light is either reflected or refracted. And I can show you that. So when we look at a particle, so there's 48 luminescent colors. We are adding one this year, November, which will be the iridescent vibrant raspberry. So it's going to go from 48 to 49. In the iridescent colors, which are reflective, there's currently 20 colors. It will go to 21 with the addition of the iridescent vibrant raspberry. Interference, there's 7 colors. Pearlescent, there's 2 pearlescent. There's a pearlescent and a pearlescent shimmer. The pearlescent shimmer has a larger particle size, so when light hits it, it's more sparkly. And then there's duochromes, and a duochrome is one color, one pigment that shifts to 2 colors. So the way that the luminescent works, it has to do with the pigment. So in a couple of them, in the duochrome Arctic, for example, duochrome Arctic Fantasy, the autumn mist, the lapis sunlight, those are all titanium that have a silica component surrounding them. The rest of them are all mica going around the titanium particle. So let me flip this down and I'll show you, and then we can start looking at so we go here. So essentially with all colors, we're looking at the pigment or the particle. And if we said this is the interference, and this is the iridescent, and this is the duochrome, we'll be looking at this one and this one today. When light comes down and hits the interference, it scatters. And that's called refractive. So when we look at the interference, what you're going to see is over the dark component, we're going to see a color, and over the light, we're going to see very little color. So that's what we're going to see today with the interference. When we look at the iridescent, light comes down, hits the particle, it reflects. So this is reflective. This is refractive. So we're going to see both over the dark and the light. We're going to be able to see the color. A little bit less on the light, but you'll still see it. You'll see it much more over the dark. And then the duochrome is actually both iridescent component and an interference component. So it both refracts and reflects light. That's what makes it really interesting. That's why you end up seeing one particle that has two color components to it. And you, for the most part, then therefore can see it over the dark and the light. All right. So from a kind of a physics kind of standpoint, it's all about light and how we push light around.
So, John,
Yes.
so with the iridescence, you talked about the mica. Is that the same thing as like if you looked at a piece of rock that had mica in it? Is that the mica? Is that what's causing the sort of sparkly in the iridescence?
So it's actually they're super complex particles. They're like this. If you imagine a sandwich, some of these have 25 layers to them. They're just super complex.
Oh,
So what it is, it's a particle. It's a titanium particle.
okay.
And that titanium particle is then either coated with mica or with silica. And how that is done, into the extent that is done, this layering gives you the different reflective, refractive, and kind of what you're seeing. So it's really awesome. Where you see these quite a bit is you see these on cars. You'll see the cars kind of sparkle, and it's really this titanium or the silica.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really kind of cool. So let's go ahead and let's look at the interference first. And I'm going to look at interference blue. The one thing I will tell you is that I always consider these to be, they're like very sharing colors, little like, they're like lovers. They want to share. And if you use the same water, you'll end up putting the microparticles in the water. So I had people ask me, how come my ultramarine it's sparkly? Well, if you happen to dip your brush into the water and then also use the same brush to do the ultramarine, etc., you could pick up some of that mica. So it might be better to use a second thing of water or brush. So I'll tell you the colors as well. And then we'll see some artwork to kind of give you some ideas.
May we make a point of viewing these colors after they have dried also, because the visual experience is so strong and so different at that point?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is going to be the interference blue. Interference blue. I'm going to put it over black. And as Anna said, when this dries, you'll actually see it being more pronounced as it dries, which makes sense because almost all of the paint, once the water evaporates away, you're actually seeing the pigment, or kind of what it really looks like. So interference blue, not iridescent electric blue, which we're going to be looking at, which is super vibrant. This is going to be interference copper. So on the luminescence, because it is mica, sometimes you have to wake them up, but definitely mix them. Okay. The next one is the interference red. So you can kind of see the difference between mine and Giovanni's. Giovanni's using it out of a pan, so he's really taken a great deal of the water out to begin with, which is really neat. So you can see mine versus his. His are, it's a really good load he's doing. And so this is going to be the interference silver. So Carolyn, are you live?
She's in the room. Yeah.
So Carolyn's in Spain. And I was gonna ask Carolyn, hello, Carolyn. Carolyn, how do you use the interference versus the iridescent?
I think the biggest thing is whether you're putting it as a wash over other colors, and your darker, obviously, colors bring out more of the, I don't know, the mica, the shine, and where it goes into a lighter area, you don't see it as much, but you do see it when it you move the paper around or you walk past it in light or something like that.
So do you strategically use the interference versus the iridescent?
On occasion, I know that the when I'm chasing, I'm looking for a color and the sparkle that suits the artwork. So it's more about the color as opposed to choosing which iridescent or interference.
Oh, very cool. Okay. So if you have any questions, have had any questions, Anna, Carolyn, Buffy, Giovanni, who have used it, are a good sounding board today. Okay, and this is interference green. So those are the interference colors. Interference blue, interference copper, red, silver, gold, lilac, and this is green. And
May
you'll see-
I
Yes.
ask for a conversation from the artists? I would be interested in hearing what the artists have to say when a student comes up and says they're reluctant to use it because of the sparkle or the shine that it flattens the image. How do you deal with that? How do you respond? How do you showcase the benefits of this pigment? Thanks.
I think when I tested it, I found that it took me a while to find the right subject that it suited. But once I found the correct subject, it was amazing. It really worked really well. So it's not suitable for all kinds of artwork, but it's very, when you know where to use it, it's just fabulous. And it really brings out another layer of interesting information in your artwork.
I've used it over dragonfly wings.
Oh, that's neat. Did it turn out well?
Yes. It was just on a birthday card for my son-in-law, but he's got it matted and framed.
I feel like I want to paint beetles with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, beetles.
Giovanni or Mark or Buffy, do you also have an aspect or a perspective on this one?
I will encourage my artists who sell their artwork, who might be scanning their images and uploading them to print on demand companies or that sort, to be mindful of that shimmer. And also, if they're showing their work in shows, they need to read the prospectus, because some of them do have a line about not using mica. And I think it's because of photography that they're hard to photograph. I'm not sure why mica is prohibited in some shows, but overall, aside from those two things, they're beautiful colors to explore.
Yeah, I think one thing to be mindful of is if you're going to cover them with a varnish, for example, you can lose some of the reflective or refractive qualities of it. So you'd want to test it, just do a doodle somewhere, test the doodle, and if that works for you, then you can do it. Otherwise, you might see it becomes dull as you take away that reflection coming back from the mica. Okay, so I'm going to put the iridescence away. But I think as Anna was saying, as they dry, you'll really start to see them pop as they dry. They really take on. And you can look at Giovanni's, they really just start to pop. All right, so now we'll look at the iridescence. But before I start that, so Buffy, do you have any that you want to show?
For the iridescent, these wave studies that I did. So this one, I'll start with this one. This one was done as a practice painting to prepare for a workshop. And as I was painting it, I would drop in the electric blue, and it's a super pushy color. So it actually helps paint my waves for me because it wants to push this color, the other colors away. And so you get the tiniest bit of shimmer, but the electric blue, when it's really watered down, you don't get a whole lot of the shimmer, but you do get that pushy, beautiful blue color. And then this one was the demo I did in class, and I applied it a lot more liberally. And can you see that shimmer there? Are you guys able to see that right along the wave here?
I do.
So that is really cool. So if you apply it heavily, you'll get a lot more shimmer. If you want just the beautiful sky blue color that the electric blue gives, super watered down, but so fun. So if you just do a wet wash and drop some of the electric blue in, watch how it'll spread across the other colors. Really, really fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, I can see the shimmer.
Yeah, really pretty. This one was the interference that we were just talking about, and it has a ton of the shimmer, but this is how it would look if you applied it into just a regular painting. So I splattered it in right there to show that it's kind of a pushy color too.
Excellent. So before we go, thank you very much. Before we go on to the iridescent, what I wanted to show you, the interference, you can see it very well over darks. And very light, very, very light here over the whites. Still see it. Still see it. Pronounced
And
here.
will that show up brighter after it's more dry?
By the time we're done this in another 30 minutes, I'll bring it back out again. You're going to see it's very pronounced here. It's still not going to be as pronounced here.
But it will catch the light brighter?
It'll catch the light, yeah, certainly more than the surrounding white around it. Oh, let's see. Yes, but as soon as it dries, I'll show that as well. Okay, so now iridescent. We're going to start with the iridescent sunstone. I've seen butterflies, dragonflies, beetles, and then with Carolyn's, you see just all types of works. Very beautiful, just all types of things. So that was iridescent sunstone, iridescent sunstone. This is going to be iridescent electric blue. We just brought this out as a stick.
Is the electric blue in the stores yet? Stick?
It will be, so it's leaving our distribution center 1 November.
Cool, okay.
So there's 11 new sticks. Giovanni helped out greatly in picking those.
What other iridescent sticks are there on John?
So for luminescent, there's definitely the pearlescent. I think the pearlescent is going to be coming out as well. And then Giovanni, what other luminescents are in the sticks?
Is the raspberry in the sticks?
The raspberry is not.
No. Another luminescent. I am in the list. In the stick, sorry.
Pearl shimmer, I believe.
Yes, the pearlescent shimmer is coming out.
Pearl white.
Yes, pearlescent white. And the iridescent electric blue. And yes, all of these, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
I've shared, thank you very much. I don't know if I've shared these with you. This is the iridescent sunstone, iridescent electric, iridescent sunstone, iridescent electric blue. This is moonstone. This is topaz. And this is jade. So you can see it on the dark. You can also see it on the white.
John, we've just shared a link for our luminescent watercolor chart in the chat. And
Oh, great.
we'll do the same in Facebook.
I see we had a question on the chat for the Zoom meeting asking if anybody has used it in skin tones. Am I correct in remembering that Johnny from Greece used it in skin tones? Am I correct in remembering that?
I do remember him mention that.
Thanks.
Claudia Diaz Hernandez uses it in skin tone. She uses it for eyes. I think Joseph has used it in the past for skin tone and eyes. I don't know if Carolyn's right there. Carolyn, have you ever used it as for skin tone in any way?
No, not
No,
for
she
skin
hasn't.
tone. No. But I'm not a portrait artist, so I don't do people very often.
Carolyn, are there any pieces of your art you would like to show someone for the iridescent?
My artwork that I posted on our share is available for Ethel to show, but I'm not in my studio, so I can't show you the real live one.
Have it in
So-
PowerPoint.
Okay.
Can we share?
And it's in beautiful
Would you like us to
Spain.
have? Would you like us to share Caroline's work now, John?
Sure.
Okay, let me do the share screen. Here we go. Do you want to share something about this piece, Caroline?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to do a series of work that tested the iridescence, the duotones, and the interference colors. And so I started with just a wash of all the beautiful different types of colors on the page. And from the mixture of the wash, I found an idea and then created the negative space with I think that one is in indigo. So then the colors, the shimmer colors come through underneath. And once it was painted, the negative space, I then used an alternate shimmer color to decorate over. You'll see a lot of the decoration patterning was a third layer in that artwork. So in real life, they're really beautiful because they have all this lovely magic from all the mica and the shimmers. But the dark spaces, even though they are the negative painting, because of the shimmer underneath, that mica does tend to come through a little bit from the wet wash. So the whole painting has a shimmer to it.
That's really beautiful. Knowing that the amount of, at least when I'm looking at my stuff right here in front of me, how much the camera takes away, it's amazing to see how vibrant yours are. They must be just awesome right there.
Yeah, the camera does not give justice to the beautiful shimmer that's in those artworks.
Ah, they're beautiful. Those are really nice.
So there's no specific whether I chose duochrome or iridescent or interference. It really was about me choosing colors that suited the artwork I was working with.
Awesome. Those are very, very nice. Those are beautiful.
I found when I first had the shimmers, they were quite hard to use. You needed to sort of practice and think about where to apply them. But once I sort of got my head around that, I found some really great topics to use them with, and from then on, they've really grown with me.
That's neat.
The artwork that is pink and gold, Ethel, is exactly the same style, but obviously a different looking painting. But the solid gold area that I've reclaimed has actually been done with a wash of the watercolor ground, the gold watercolor ground.
This one.
No, yes, this one. So you can see where there's the solid gold that's actually been painted over as a new layer with the watercolor ground to reclaim the paper again as a solid. And that's why that picture has the watercolor ground in it.
Caroline, how many layers do you have to use? Do you have to use the full 3 layers, or can you use the watercolor ground more transparently also? That use there. Thank you.
Yeah, you can use the watercolor ground slightly transparently. It's really a matter of how much you water it, because you're not relying on it to become a new surface because you're already on watercolor paper. That's really, I just used it because it was a suitable thing for the layering effect that I was chasing.
Beautiful.
With the background pattern work, it reminds me a lot of Klimt's The Kiss.
Yes, I love his work. The favorite things I did was all of the perfume bottles and the snuff bottles. That was a fantastic exercise I did with my students. Ethel can show those, I think.
I have this, we have this loaded.
Okay. Yeah, so that's one. See, the background of those bottles were painted in a wet surface for the snuff bottle shape. And then the gold patterning is actually gold foil that's been embossed on the surface. So the whole vessel looks like one of those beautiful little glass bottles you get in a perfume shop that has also the metal framing on the surface of the glass. There's also a beautiful vase that has I think it's duo lapis sunlight that's painted over, and that is the bright coloured one, Ethel.
Is it this one, or you want to share the other image?
No, it's a different one again.
Okay, let me go back to it.
Okay.
I like yours, Giovanni. Those are neat.
Is it this one, Caroline?
That's one of them, but not the one I'm talking about. That one has been painted in all of the iridescents as well as regular colors. And
Beautiful.
then has the beautiful gold, the electric blue, and one of the lavenders, or the purple iridescents that are in there. Again, you can't see the glow that actual real painting is like. It's only a sample. It's not a finished, it's not a saleable artwork as such. It's just a sample artwork from my lesson plans with my students. There's one that's bright red and green and yellows.
Okay, I'll put it up in those slides.
Okay.
While we have John and Gio's screen on Spotlight.
Okay.
So these colors right here, this is russet, antique gold. This is iridescent ruby. It's a little hard to see there, but in front of me, it really pop. There we go, iridescent ruby. And then we have antique silver, and then iridescent scarab. And I'll just go back and show you quickly. This is, again, the iridescence as they're drying. So it's a little bit more over the white, but not as popped as it is over the dark. So interference, iridescent. And then Giovanni's doing some really beautiful mixes with his. I'll show you the water. This is how the water ends up looking. You can see just a mammoth amount of mica. And if you're using the same water, you have just to do this, that's going to be loaded with mica. So. Okay.
That's why I was saying that I use a different palette for my my iridescence and not on my regular palette because of all the mica that mixes up with all your paint.
That makes absolute sense. Would anybody else like to share any of their artwork done with the Luminescent? So let me see it.
Yeah, I could show you this nocturne that I'm toying with now.
Good.
So right now I got some interference. If I could just take a step back.
Sure you can.
And so see, I had this area right here that was pretty dark. So this is right before sunset, and this little building is getting light coming in here, and then this little like stained glass window is illuminating. So I can now go in here on this darker color and grab the interference and make that lovely color shimmer and reflect. And so I can build up this lovely thing now. I also worked on these windows here with some iridescent jade and some Aztec gold. I put on this roof because the light's hitting here. And so now I've got that nice glow that's playing. And just for giggles, you know, this little plum tree kind of got a little dark. So I got this interference lilac. And so instead of mixing up, so this is interference as well. So this was almost getting flat on me. So maybe normally what people might do is mix some kind of pink with some white, and instead I can get some really nice reflectiveness going on in this dead area. And then
Just
down
by putting
here,
dots? Gabriel, just by
Yeah.
putting dots?
so this area of the tree where the light of the building was popping through, I made like little pattern of dots through there to make it look like that area of the tree was like thinner. And then right in here, first, these windows were first done with Chronachrome deep gold. And now I'm able to put the interference here and really make those people pop forward, because this is really dark down in here because this whole area is shaded. So now we've got some light coming through here. And so I can play in there and almost like sculpture, build this light with the interference. So I'm using the interference on any colors that are going flat and dull. Right here, this kind of went flat right here. See this area? But right here is the interference gold that I'm able to put on that flat looking area. And I'm able to build that now kind of backwards. And we've got light from the other side coming through those little slats of wood.
Very cool.
So this picture was done plein air, and now I'm adding studio time to it. Thanks for letting me
Interesting.
share.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Lovely work.
Does anybody else watching have artwork they'd like to show?
I have some bees that I've been working on. It's Sarah. Hi, it's Sarah. I don't know if you can see my camera.
We'll ask Ethel to. Ethel, can you show Sarah?
Yeah, it's still loading.
Please. Thank you.
Sarah,
Yeah.
camera is not, there's no feed, but it says it's on.
I'm having problems at my end. I'm sorry, I can't. I wanted to share my pearlescent white and duochrome Arctic Fire, which was inspired by Jim Loste Brown, that session with him, which was wonderful, which I'm using over some little bees that I painted to try different ways to show their wings. So mixing titanium white, very sheer, over the wings, and then putting on top of that either pearlescent white or the duochrome Arctic Fire. and then also using those without any titanium white. And it's interesting, but you can't see it, sorry.
Well, thank you.
I think Ethel might have my artwork now for you, John.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
That's that. Let me just-
And then we'll look at Giovanni's.
There we go. There.
Wow.
Okay, so you can see the one on the right is the painting before I added the layer of the, I think it's iridescent lapis sunlight, and the way the colors interfered and that glow, it looks like these beautiful glass vessels you see with the foil in the glass. It was a really great use of the beautiful mica paints.
Even those palettes are beautiful.
Yeah,
They are.
really liked that series. I'd like to do a whole giant series of those.
Wow.
There's another one that has 3 vessels that Ethel has, with a pink and a gold. No, 3.
Oh,
I
the
just
few
said.
glasses. Okay. We'll come back to that.
Okay, no problem.
So these are showing the blue silver. And this is sapphire. This one is antique bronze. This is antique copper. Iridescent Aztec gold. Iridescent bronze. Iridescent copper. And iridescent gold. So quite pronounced over the white. And then Giovanni, can we look at yours and your mixes? We're gonna do quite a few.
Sure. Okay. I created these beautiful mixes here, ruby and scarab red and iridescent electric blue with a beautiful texture. And this is the moonstone iridescent copper, is the real opposite. And now iridescent sapphire, little sunstone, and antique copper.
That one is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's very nice.
Thank you.
And Giovanni, can you show your washes that you were doing as well?
Yeah. This water or
Yeah, those. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Because they're different than mine, like the way it's a different aspect.
Yeah. This is a washing a 25% cotton paper and with a few parts of water. It's very intensive. And this is my palette and on black paper. Now during the light, but this is not with brush strokes very strong, but only in the pointillism, in the wet on wet. And this is the watercolor confetti dot card.
Yeah.
That's a great set. That's that
Gold,
card.
garnet, rust, and electric blue set.
Awesome.
Got a question in Facebook world.
And this is another palette with
Duochrome.
iridescent and duochrome and pearlescent.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
You're
nice.
All the shirt.
Yeah, all the shimmers. Awesome.
With various pearlescent, iridescent color, beautiful set.
Awesome. Thank you, Giovanni.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Gabriel, what was the question?
The question had to do with pertaining to evaporation. Does the evaporation time differ to the other watercolors?
No.
No. And that was, Carolyn also said no.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I do notice there's a different thickness in this paint than there is to other.
Yeah, you're right, because there is a different, it's almost like some of the Primitex. The mica particles in the luminescence, they pack really tight, like almost shingles on a roof. And that's why when they dry, you want to wake them up with, a squirt of water and let them start to try to come apart. But yeah, they can be thicker to start with. But once you've laid the particles out, then you have the evaporation time. So, out of the tube, you've also seen that when Giovanni did it out of the pan, how condensed they were out of the pan. So this is what we look at today. This is so which one do you think? Is this iridescent or interference? What do you think?
Interference. The last one.
So this one right here, what do you think this one is? Is this iridescent colors or interference? Right here's the tone. Iridescent, yes, because you can see it very well over white. Here's the interference. I pulled that away, Barbara, really quick, but this is the one I put up first.
Okay.
This is the interference. So kind of try to answer Anna's question. You can see it, it's pretty much fully dried. And certainly over the dark. And then the first set of the iridescence, actually the second set of the iridescence that we looked at. A lot of the coppers and the bronzes in the Aztec. And then this was the first set of iridescent.
Okay. I had a follow-up question from the previous conversation.
Yeah.
I believe it was Caroline that mentioned about there's a little bit of a learning curve that takes time to learn how to use these. Do you, Caroline, or some of the other artists recommend some exercises to help get over that learning curve so that we can, to make it more accessible?
That's a good question.
I think my learning curve was more about finding suitable subjects that suited the mica paints. When you're not used to using them, they feel wrong in your painting unless you like that shimmer, pearly sort of look in your artwork. But once I found the right subject matter, they really belonged and they were very easy to use. There was no learning about the paint. It was really learning about where to apply them.
Very nice.
Thank you.
John, you have the other artworks with Caroline loaded in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, excellent. Giovanni, we're going to come back to look at yours and to look at Buffy's as well.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's very nice.
Okay,
Oh,
so you
please
can see.
go back to those rocks. Oh my goodness.
The perfume bottles was a part of a series I did with my students in my classes because I wanted them to get a good feeling for the iridescent paints and where to apply them. And so we had lots of sample photographs of different bottles and we painted them into, different little, they're only A4 size paintings, but they're a really lovely exercise. And I know they all really enjoyed the exercise and were quite surprised how well they did with them. And this is my signature work. I'm a rock artist. That's what I mostly paint as what I'm recognized for. And the first three are close-ups of the last one is the main painting. And you can see how the duo lapis sunlight picks up on the dark versus the light in the painting to give that feeling of the movement of water and the reflection of the sky on the water.
Wow. That's beautiful. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
And Giovanni, can we see yours? Oh, that's nice.
The mix, starting with electric blue and iridescent russet, little point of iridescent gold, and finally iridescent garnet.
Very cool.
Yeah, sparkling paint.
That's neat. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, too.
And Buffy, can we see yours?
Yeah, so I had the iridescent blue, which you could see in here, but look at over here. Look at that. So you could really apply it and have a blast with it. It's also all the speckles in here. I also did some light lifting to see how well it lifts. It lifts so well that you could lift it all the way back to white, which is pretty cool because if you are learning this color and you're not too familiar with it, you could even just spray it off if you don't like the way it's coming out. And then this one are my two favorite duochromes, the saguaro green and the autumn mystery with a little bit of the electric blue. I mean, I would frame something giant like this. It's just an abstract. It's so beautiful. So we have the interference, the iridescent, and then the duochrome. So you can see, I think the secret for me is a lot of water because they are a little thicker. I agree with some of the comments earlier. So giving them enough water where they can spread into your other colors, I think really unlocks a lot of their beauty.
Awesome, thank you. Would anybody else like to show what they've been working on or ask questions of Carolyn, Buffy, and Giovanni and Gabriel?
John, I have some
Annette?
washes. Yes.
Hi, Angela.
Hi. Just a moment. Okay. So I don't know if you can see it because today I don't have the normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see?
Yeah, we can.
Oops, sorry. Because I don't have my normal tripod, but with this one, I hope you can see more or less. This I used this beautiful iridescent jade, the green one here. This wait, you cannot see it, right?
There we go. Now we can see it. Oh. Yeah.
This is the iridescent jade. And this is a beautiful, beautiful iridescent sapphire. It's so, I don't know, for me, it was like in a way a sunset, the progression of a sunset, some clouds. And these two are, even though they seem the same, it's the iridescent russet and the iridescent ruby. I have the ruby a little bit down. It's difficult maybe because I don't use them very much to get them to mix well together. But here I like this mix very much. And then I use this iridescent gold for the end of the sunset. And then the blue, the electric blue. That is iridescent electric blue. That is for me, it's fabulous. Here, very thick, and here more watery. And if you spray them, it mixes with the gold. Yeah. And here on this side, I have decided to try it with lunar black. So I have lunar black and iridescent gold. It's not dry yet, and but I think it will create very beautiful effects. And here, lunar black with iridescent electric blue. And here I have more of the ruby and the russet mixed with the rest of the beautiful colors the green pearl. That is a green pearl. Gorgeous, isn't it? The green pearl and the lunar black. I want to see what will become when it dries, whether they will mix well, whether they will granulate or not. So these are my mixes today.
Thank you, Angela. Very nice.
Thank you.
They look like silk fabric.
Yes, you will be happy to know that one of Caroline's stone paintings is in a scarf that I received from her. One of my favorites. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, that's going to be it for the iridescent and the interference. And so next time we'll look at the duochromes and the pearlescent. Then we'll look at the gouache. So I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you all for sharing. Carolyn, thank you. Anna, thank you. Gabriel, Giovanni, Angela, thank you. Buffy. I love seeing the different ways you use the paints, especially when it's quite gorgeous. Tomorrow, we'll be with Angela. She was on today. She might be on right now.
She's still in the room, John.
She's left the room?
Yes.
No, I'm still here.
No, she's still here.
She's still
So
here.
Angela, we'll be with Angela tomorrow. We'll see her artwork, which will be fantastic. I did in the artist studio with Angela, so you might want to look at that. So thank you all. It's wonderful to share the day with you, and I look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Thank you very, very much. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
John.
Same here. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you, everybody.